Yeah, I founded the Committee to Save the H.H. Richardson House in the summer of 2004 upon returning to the area and learning that the Richardson House in Brookline was under threat and was not protected and could be sold at any point as a teardown. And myself and others in the Brookline Preservation Commission and the National Trust for Historic Preservation saw how important the house is as a very unique, intact remnant showing where H.H. Richardson lived and practiced his craft and was so influential in the history of American architecture, and the site where so many famous buildings were designed and conceived. It's built in 1803, so that in itself is significant, in a very particular kind of architecture style. Perhaps a reason why it's not more well known is that it does not look anything like a Richardsonian type building. You know, it's not made of stone. It's not a heavy, rusticated building with a lot of arches. It's a federal style house that is very different from a Richardsonian style. So it predates him, and it's from it's probably even before 1803. But it was built by a merchant, wealthy Bostonian named Samuel Gardner Perkins, as his country retreat in Brookline. And it's a very interesting style because he dealt a lot with the West Indies and went down to the Caribbean quite a bit, and so it's surmised that he chose that style because it's similar to a plantation house, either in the South or what you'd find in the West Indies. And there's a few other houses in the immediate vicinity in Brookline that were built by similar merchants in similar styles. It's very unusual in New England. But like I said, there are still two other houses right down the street that have survived. And there was one others that has since been demolished, but that in itself is significant. But then Richardson chose that house probably because he was from New Orleans and because it reminded him of the plantation houses of his youth. And he also was very friendly with the owner of the house, who was a treasurer of Harvard at the time and a classmate of his from Harvard. And he moved in when he wanted to relocate his studio from New York City. He had just won the Trinity Church competition in 1872, so he moves here in 1874. His probably most famous work is Trinity Church in Boston, in Boston's Back Bay, and that was really his signature work, which established him as a famous architect. Before that, he had done some interesting churches and other projects, but that really set his name in lights. And after that, he did a lot of commissions all over America, many of them in the Northeast, but that also gave birth to a style called Richardsonian Romanesque, which was copied widely during the rest of the 19th century in America. Still there to this day is his bedroom, which he did design as an addition to the house, and a staircase leading up to it, and a very interesting kind of Richardsonian design for interiors, which he later replicated in other commissions, such as Stonehurst and Waltham and some others. Just hope that people will have the opportunity in future generations to experience Richardson's studio and home. It was a great center of American culture in the 19th century, and if it stands and people are able to see it, they can learn quite a bit about American architecture and art.